video discusses the connection between tradition and decolonization in the Muslim Atlantic. It is the last of 5 videos summarizing the findings from my PhD dissertation, entitled Tradition as Flow: Decolonial Currents in the Muslim Atlantic. Let's do a quick recap. The previous videos provide an overview of a long-term historical process in 3 stages: tradition, disruption, and traditionalism. The series begins with an introduction, after which the second video, entitled Tradition, examines the distinct Western Islamic tradition which emerged in Northwest Africa and Southwest Europe between the 8th and 15th centuries. The third video, entitled Colonial Disruption, demonstrates how the disruption and colonization of traditional Islam by European powers was a constitutive aspect of the early modern colonial world system born in 1492. The fourth video, entitled Traditionalism, advances that traditionalism is a discourse about tradition, which emerged as one response to colonial disruption. Now, I would like to present a fourth historical stage: decolonization. This stage is still ongoing, since the modern colonial power dynamics developed over centuries are still largely in place around the world. I argue that the unfinished process of decolonization requires explicitly affirming the value of the diverse traditions severely disrupted by the modern colonial project. Traditionalist Islamic scholarship represents a key resource for Muslims who wish to engage one another in multiple decolonial conversations intended to heal their communities politically, economically, culturally, intellectually, and spiritually. Moreover, other communities peripheralized in the modern colonial world system face similar challenges. In a globalized system, any successful decolonial effort must involve some conversations with other communities. For these reasons, the last section of my dissertation consists of an intertextual examination of 2 types of decolonial conversation: internal ones among Muslims and ones with other communities. People need to connect with their own community and its traditions if they are to interact positively and constructively with other communities. Intra-communal conversations are especially necessary for fragilized communities in the periphery of the world system to heal. Muslims of extremely diverse origins are engaged in such delicate discussions in North America, where it is generally easier to debate controversial issues than in most Muslim-majority societies today. Naturally, my focus is on traditionalist Islamic scholarship, which, although often less explicitly, generally supports my contention that traditional Islamic ways of being, knowing, and behaving require urgent decolonization. I propose some new terminology and conceptual tools to facilitate the internal Muslim conversation on decolonization. For instance, I describe tradition as an inspired, dynamic flow from the past into the present and future. This flow is composed of multiple internal flows and counterflows. Today, going with the flow can fundamentally challenge modern colonial ways of interacting among humans as well as towards non-human life forms. African Islam has been the main historical source of the Islamic flow in North America, and since Muslim Atlantic currents overlap significantly with Black Atlantic ones, the broader African and African diasporic intellectual heritage should play a crucial decolonial role for North American Muslims. This heritage provides a critical perspective from which to develop forms of engagement with society which transcend the Eurocentric divide between left and right. But traditional flows from Eurasia also circulate in North American Islam. In the end, the cosmopolitan aspect of the North American Muslim community makes it a microcosm of global Islam. Therefore, it is no surprise that North Americans are actively contributing to an emergent global traditionalist Islamic discourse. This global dimension of traditionalist Islam is a topic which merits further investigation. My dissertation ends with a discussion about how traditionalist Islam can contribute to interepistemic decolonial conversations. By interepistemic, I mean conversations between people from different intellectual traditions who approach reality in different ways, often with different aims and with different premises. Since these conversations are at an embryonic and rather fragile stage, my approach is prudent and exploratory. I discuss the conditions for a successful conversation and make intertextual connections between diverse discourses. The Islamic tradition offers a rich corpus of texts concerned with the etiquettes of interpersonal engagement. These etiquettes facilitate productive communication by providing guidelines about who should speak, how, about what, and in which circumstances. Many contemporary Islamic scholars in North America draw from this historical corpus in arguing that those who are knowledgeable of their tradition and demonstrate a certain level of spiritual self-discipline, compassion, wisdom, and interpersonal skills are best suited to represent Muslims. In turn, I argue that such Muslims, proficient in traditional Islamic etiquette, can best contribute to and benefit from global decolonial conversations. It is also important to seriously reflect about priorities when it comes to choosing which topics should be discussed and with whom. For instance, discussions between Muslims and secular humanists steeped in Western theoretical frameworks may be useful, but endless core periphery dialogues can be counterproductive when much-needed conversations among the modern colonial peripheries are generally neglected. Since evidence suggests that most scholars committed to Western approaches to reality are unwilling to abandon their epistemic privilege and address experts from other intellectual traditions as equals, I argue that peripheralized scholars should prioritize conversations on the peripheries. So much groundwork needs to be done for decolonial conversations to mature and have a significant impact on society. Both secularism and dialogue need to be decolonized. Rather than a neutral position from which to study and manage various subordinate viewpoints, ranging from religion to magic, secularism needs to be understood as one of many approaches to reality. Islam is another. Moreover, since interepistemic dialogues begin inside our minds, any given individual might draw upon secular, Islamic, or any number of other approaches to reality at different times. For these dialogues to become decolonial, their colonial premises must be revealed and transformed. Only then can people discuss decolonization in a productive, sincere, respectful, empathetic, and open manner. In short, I suggest that Muslims should be talking more to people such as Buddhist monks and Anishinaabe elders. We need to develop ways to discuss shared decolonial aspirations without being overwhelmed by the world's enormously diverse approaches to reality. Difference should be acknowledged, but not exaggerated. A key concept coined by decolonial thinker Walter Mignolo is pluriversality. It is a call for epistemic pluralism, inviting people to draw upon diverse types of rationality when working together towards a future beyond Western-centric modernity. A pluriversal approach recognizes both differences and similarities, and proceeds with the conviction that enough similarities exist between most people to work sincerely on shared goals when forming coalitions, alliances, and perhaps friendships through interepistemic conversations. My dissertation contributes to these pluriversal conversations by making connections between several scholarly discourses which have mostly evolved apart from one another until now. One such conversation, to which this dissertation seeks to make a significant contribution, is the emergent dialogue between traditionalist Islam and decolonial world systems analysis. A new theoretical framework proposed here is traditionalist Islamic decolonization. Intended as one of many scholarly discourses contributing to global decolonial conversations, it posits that Muslims must revisit their heritage to counter the modern colonial forces which for centuries have threatened to annihilate their unique traditions of being, knowing, and behaving. This entails drawing on Muslim lineages to produce contemporary decolonial knowledge, rather than feeling obliged to access lineages connected to Western secularist celebrities such as Karl Marx or Michel Foucault. We can also theorize a decolonized future by connecting to the knowledge and wisdom of figures from the Muslim Atlantic, such as Sayyid al-Hurra, François Mackandal, Amir Abdel Qadir, René Guénon, Malcolm X, Daoud Walid, Ingrid Mattson, and Tamara Gray. And just as Muslims have long benefited from engaging with other intellectual traditions, non-Muslims can surely benefit from taking seriously Muslim lineages as sources of knowledge. I hope you have enjoyed the opportunity provided by this video series to explore the intellectual, spiritual, and cultural lineages which have inspired generations of Muslims to resist annihilation in the modern colonial world system. If you wish to explore this topic in more depth, you are warmly invited to read my dissertation. In addition, you can stay posted for other videos I intend to produce to deal more thoroughly with some of the topics only briefly covered in this series. Until then, salam.